I had taken my last shower, eaten my last hot meal, and feasted on the deliciousness of a great last kiss. At the time, I hadn't known that those would be the final moments of my life as a normal college student, caught in a whirlwind romance. The apocalypse had changed everything. Now my thoughts centered around how many times I could pull the trigger before I needed to reload, how much water I had left, and when I would be able to rest my aching feet again. This had been the case since we fled my parents' underground shelter in Montana 2 weeks ago. We had trekked nearly 400 miles since then, but who was counting? One advantage of walking through the vast wilderness of eastern Idaho was the lack of blood and flesh-craving monsters released in the aftermath of the volcano's eruption. The tags seemed to prefer heavily populated areas, with an abundance of people to feast on. We hadn't seen many of the demon DNA-infused creatures since we left Montana behind. The biggest disadvantage of walking through the mountains was the unfavorable weather. The trifecta of a North American fall, high elevations, and an atmosphere full of ash made it astonishingly cold. The thick winter coats and sturdy hiking boots we each salvaged from an abandoned home last week had come in handy. That was the last house we had seen, and the last time I slept on something besides cold, hard ground. As the orange halo that filtered through the thick curtain of ash crept closer to the horizon, signaling the approach of another bitter night, I worried that we were in store for yet another restless attempt at sleep. Assuming we lived to see nightfall. "Anyone see that?" Dylan, the other half of that whirlwind romance, called from his position near the head of the group. I tensed instantly. My finger flexed over the trigger of the gun in my hand as I scanned the shadows that hid amongst the falling ash for movement. Tags moved fast. I had learned that the hard way when my infected parents attacked us and nearly killed Dylan. I had been reminded of it often enough since then to know I will never forget. "What is it, Dylan?" Jake Walker asked from over my shoulder. His heavy boots bumped into mine from the back, and I resisted the urge to pull away from him. He was my twin brother, after all. Even if I had just met him 2 weeks ago, he was technically my blood. I assumed he wouldn't always feel like a stranger to me. For now he was merely a travel companion, and someone who knew how to shoot a gun into a mob of hungry monsters with deadly precision. "Looks like a house," Dylan responded. Jake urged me forward until we were both standing alongside Dylan and my friend David Banks. One was dark and dangerous from head to toe, with enough firepower and sharp steel on his body to give any tag or vessel we encountered pause. The other held the weapon in his hand with visible unease as he shifted to stand by my side. David's crash course in shooting a gun 2 weeks ago had gone about as well as I expected. Though he carried a handgun, his weapon of choice was the long-blade dagger strapped to his hip. Okay for self-defense in the event that a tag got through the firepower laid down by the rest of us. Hadn't happened yet. Hopefully it never happened. Giving David's cold fingers a friendly squeeze, I peered in the direction Dylan indicated. A large box-shaped shadow loomed not far away. We were probably standing in the owner's backyard. The problem was we couldn't clearly see more than 10 feet in front of us when the ash fell at its heaviest. Sometimes we got lucky and could see a little farther. Shadows like this were always a mystery until we got close enough. "Let's scope it out," Jake suggested. "It's going to be dark soon." "Darker," I muttered. As if walking through the ash during the day wasn't difficult enough, night was exceptionally tricky. We had learned early on not to risk moving with next to zero visibility. That night, I had killed my first tag. I was exceptionally cautious, always fearful of the demon-created monsters as I fell in line behind Jake and David. They led the way toward the house-shaped shadow. Dylan settled in behind me, but I didn't acknowledge him. In stark contrast to the fiery start of our short-lived fling, I was prone to giving him the cold shoulder now. Whatever had started between us was fractured by the mountain of lies he had told me since his sudden appearance in my life last month. I got why he had lied to me. That was what he did. What he had to